Hello Internet, I'm Tom Rowe and this is 411 VIDS. Today I'm going to mix it up. Thought I'd do an Illustrator CC 2017 tutorial to show how to use Illustrator to create a vector logo. And there's a lot of steps involved. I'll try and keep it short, but let's see what happens. Alright, here we go. So I'm going to first review the difference between a bitmap and a vector object. As you can see by this image, a bitmap or raster object usually comes in the flavors of JPEG, GIF, or PNG, and vector on the internet usually comes as an SVG file. As you can see by this illustration, the edges of this S are really blotchy and blocky, and they have like stair steps or aliasing going around the edges, and if you zoom in on this image it will look horrible. So I would recommend that anytime you want to do some design that for an icon or a logo, that you go to a vector application, which will allow you to create these nice smooth edges, because in a vector image all of the edges, the fills, and the gradients, and even the transparency is created through math. It's not captured at resolution, and then when you enlarge it, it degrades. A vector object, when enlarged, even to the size of a billboard, will continue to look smooth, and all the edges will be beautiful. Alright, so let's first of all go to Illustrator. Now in Illustrator I created a series of icons based on a logo. So let me show you that logo. The first thing I'm going to do is try and reproduce this look, which there's color on the left, some kind of text, and then there's an image on the right. Just to illustrate what I was talking about earlier, if I select one of these elements within my artwork, let's see if I can just select a teeny weeny piece of this. Okay, so as I zoom in on that, you could see that the edges stay really smooth. And that's the beauty of vector art, is that it doesn't really matter how close you get. Since math defines this angle, this edge, this fill, you always get a straight line. So it's really wonderful. Alright, so I wanted to create a series of little vignettes or icons that show what this section of my web page or blog represents. So I have web dev here, and video, and writing. Now I always tell people when I'm trying to teach them how to do something in anything on the internet, if you have a reference or a source object that you can use for reference, then use it, because if you want to replicate something or duplicate a look, it's always good to have a starting point. If you're doing something from scratch, then you don't need a starting point, but since I want to replicate something similar to what I have here, I'm going to go ahead and copy this video icon. So here we are in Illustrator, and as I mouse over these things you could see that this is made up of various layers, and I could see those layers by going over here and clicking the layers icon. And that shows me that I've broken this into 3 groups of vector outlines and fills and colors and shapes and text. And if I look at my writing group, you can see how that's broken down. And I go to my video group, you can see that one. Well, what I'd really like to do is to have a starting point for the new symbol that I'm going to create. So I'm going to select the video group, and I've got to check this or click this target box. And that gives me the group as a whole. And then I'm going to choose my artboard tool, and I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and I'm going to start dragging this down, and I'm going to hit Shift to lock it to the vertical, and then I can also lock it to the horizontal, but since I'm going down, it's going to lock it to the vertical. And then I get it about where I want it. I'm going to release my mouse, and now I have an excellent copy of that original file. So now I can modify this and get a very similar look to what I have above. So this is the one that's selected, and you see it made a copy right here. These icons are very small. Let's see if I can enlarge those. There we go. So you can see that I have a video group and video group, and this is the new one. So I'm going to drag that down here just so I can get an idea of where it's located based on the layers. And this one, let's just go ahead and line these up here. So we get, this one goes here. So now I've got the orange, the blue, and the purple, and then now I'm down here to this blue one. Alright, so I'm going to lock these so that I don't mess with them. And then I'm going to choose my text tool and mouse over the text and click. And this is going to be something else that I'm able to do for my clients, and that is 3D modeling, animation, and design using 3D objects. So I need to give it a proper name. Let's say 3D design. Okay, and that kind of fits. I'm going to hit escape, which basically takes me out of text editing mode and puts me in object mode for this. Use my arrow keys to move it down. Shift arrow moves it in larger moves, and then arrow just moves it 1 pixel or unit at a time. Now, since these graphics will probably end up in a social media web page or something where they turn it into a circle, it's probably going to crop my or truncate or something my 3 and my N. So I'm going to tweak this text to make it fit a little closer toward the middle so I don't lose it. So I need to open up my video group. Well, first of all, let's rename this so I know what I'm dealing with here. This is 3D design. Okay, I double click that to get into it and edit it. And then let's look at our text, which is right here. Selection tool. And since I have text selected, this context-sensitive menu or bar up here, control bar, is actually giving me the things that pertain to text. So I have my font, I have the size of my font, the paragraph, character. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose character right here, and that's going to give me a subset of tools. And I want to use my tracking for that and bring it down so that it tightens it up just a little bit. Alright, that should do. And now I'm going to use my arrow keys to move it back up a little to keep it centered. And I think that's good enough. Now I need to change this background color. I find it very difficult to select things in the artboard area where all the elements are located, so I usually have to go over here to my layers and choose the color, the path. Now I've got that selected, and this color swatch here shows that that's my fill, but I need to change it, so I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to shift this to a different tint. And let's make it a little darker. It's a little too bright. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that's perfect. So now I've changed that color, and the hardest part of this is going to be changing this little graphic right here, because that's vector art, and if I expand it, you can see that it's made of all these little parts. But what I started with was just a little marker board graphic. It was a bitmap, and then I converted it to a vector object using Illustrator. Now let me show you how that works. Now to do that, I'm going to open up a browser, and I'm going to search for a 3D cube. And then I'm going to go to images so that I can see what it came up with. I kind of like this one, so I'm going to click that. View the image, and yeah, it looks pretty good. So let's save image as, and under my projects folder, art for projects, I'm just going to call it 3D cube. Okay. Now let's open Photoshop, and I'll open my 3D cube. There we go. There it is. And as you can see, it's just a bitmap. Cancel, Alt, double click. And what I want to do is convert this into vector, but there's a lot of different colors, shades of gray, in each of these planes. And I need to simplify it a little bit just so that it makes an object that's going to look good. So there's my layers, and you can see it's just one layer. I don't really need this shadow here, and I really just want three shapes of three different colors, and that will simplify this and make it a lot easier for me to convert it into a vector object. So I'm going to use this pen tool to create those shapes. So let me select the pen tool. I don't need a stroke. I need a fill. I'm going to pick a color, and I'm going to choose that one. Hit OK. And now I'm going to start drawing, clicking my corners here. And there's my first one. Now if I turn this off, you can see that I've created a fill of that color, and it doesn't make any sense floating out here by itself, but it'll make sense in a minute. So now I'm going to create another one. So now I'm going to create another one using a different fill color. So let's choose this. It's not that different. So it barely moves. So let me make it a little more dramatic. And then I'm just going to click. And then close it. Right? That's better. Okay. Let me create a new one for the bottom here. And I went to the bottom layer because whatever I start drawing is going to start just above whatever's selected in the layers folder. So let me do this color chooser again. And let me go quite a bit darker on that one. Alright. And now I have something that resembles a 3D cube, and I used a reference image so that I could get the shape of it right. Where is it? Alright. paint bucket. So let's pick something garish, you know, so that we can see what we're doing here. Oops. Oh, okay, so I have an issue, and that is I can't use a color unless I change the mode of this image, because when I brought it in, it was a black and white image. So we'll go up to image mode, and we'll shift this to RGB. And we don't merge it. And now I feel that. Now we can zoom right in here and more easily see that we've got a little bit of an issue there and up there. And I'm seeing a little bit of red leaking through. Okay, so let's solve that. What we need to be able to do is direct select our shapes. One. So I can get rid of the red now, and let's add another layer. We'll just turn this one white. There. So what do we have here? Well, there's probably some variations in color along these edges, just because Photoshop is trying to blend edges together. That there's a solid white background, and then there's 3 shades of gray, and that's pretty good to start with. So what I'm going to do is save this, and I always arrange my folders by project, and I usually have an Art for Projects folder, and that's where I keep things that I might use in more than one place. I'll overwrite my old one, and then I'll do Control-Alt-Shift-S for save for web, and going to leave that PNG. It's okay that it has a background, but I could get rid of that background, but I'm just going to leave it in there because it's not gonna make this hard. Hit save. Now I'm going to save 3D Cube PNG. Overwrite my original. And then go back to Illustrator. Now in Illustrator I'm going to open that file that I just exported. Art for Projects, 3D Cube. And it opens it up in a new tab. And it puts it into its own layer under a layer group. Okay? So I've selected the image, and now this context sensitive menu up here goes to image trace. I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to say 6 colors. Now that's a vector object, but it doesn't look like one because we still only see one layer here. What you have to do is hit expand, and that creates a group and shows you all of the different pieces that make that group up. Now I don't want a background, so I'm going to select that and just delete it. Now I have 4 shapes. This one, this one, this one, and this one, whatever that is. Looks like a tiny little spot right there. I don't really need that, so I'm going to delete it. There. Now I basically have 3 vector shapes. I'm going to select this group right here, and I'm going to hit Control-C to copy it. I'm going to go back to my original and hit Control-V to paste, and there it is. It's a group. Now I'm going to call this 3D Cube. I'm going to collapse this group, drag it down here under my rectangle, and you can see that it's masking it the way it's supposed to. I can now get rid of my marker slate, so delete that. Select my 3D cube, and then just use my Shift and arrow keys to move it into position here. And knowing that wherever I use it, it's going to probably crop it into a circle, I want to make sure I have enough of that close enough to the green border next to it so that it actually shows up in a circle. And now there's only one more thing that I need to do, and that is to export this so that I can use it on the web. To do that, I'm going to choose my Artboards tool, and this allows me to select these artboards. This is the one I want to export, so I'm going to select that one, and then I'm going to hit my Control-Alt-Shift-S, which is the same as in Photoshop, and then whatever artboard I've selected will be exported now. It's PNG 24, that's fine, and go ahead and hit save. I'm going to select one of my other ones so that I have my naming schema, and then I'm going to alter it. 3D design. And that's it. Now I'm saving this file so that I can come back to it and create more of them later. But as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. It does take some time, and it might take some practice for you to get good at it. But you know, there are so many ways to do this that the way that I've shown you is just one of them. And you know, you'll find other people's tutorials will seem a lot different if they're doing something similar, just because their methodology is different. And these tools are made so they will be flexible, and that different people can get to the same results in different ways. And there it is. So I think that's a pretty good tutorial. I'm going to stop it there because it's already gone too long. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. And let other people know by sharing this with your social pages or your friends. And hit that little alarm bell next to your subscribe button if you want to be notified of future videos. I really appreciate it. Well, have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.